Welcome to Research Refresher, a series of video guides for students who need to brush up on their research writing. I'm Dr. Gabe Sealey-Morris from Johnson C. Smith University Writing Studio, and this lesson will cover literature reviews and annotated bibliographies. At some point in your academic career, you'll have to write a literature review and/or an annotated bibliography. These are types of writing that are often confusing to students, so an overview of what they are and how they work may be useful. Literature reviews and annotated bibliographies are what we might call academic genres. They don't exist anywhere but in the academic world, in other words. That doesn't mean they're a made-up assignment or some kind of busy work. Academic writers write them frequently. Most academic essays have a section that would be classified as literature review, and annotated bibliographies are commonly used by researchers to help direct others' research. Literature reviews also exist as a distinct, publishable academic work too, and they often go hand in hand with annotated bibliographies. When you see one, you often see the other. The purpose of both literature reviews and annotated bibliographies is to provide aid to other researchers. A literature review helps other researchers get a handle on the most important aspects of a subject before they delve into it, or help them find their way around a topic they don't know well. Annotated bibliographies help researchers save their valuable time by showing them what sources are about before they start researching. The literature review. Students often have a hard time distinguishing between the research paper and the literature review. The key distinction is clarifying what the topic of your paper is. In a research paper, you do research on a topic and then write a paper on that topic, using your research to support your discussion or argument. In other words, in a research paper, the topic is the topic. In a literature review, you do research on a topic to learn what the researchers are doing, and then write a paper on the research itself. In other words, in a literature review, the research is the topic. A literature review about the research on the physical demands of long-distance running will be about the research and the researchers. It will not be a paper about long-distance running. It'll be a paper about what researchers say about long-distance running. Literature reviews can be very broad or very specific. They may cover, for example, everything written in the past year about first-year writing, to use an example from my field. Or they may be about a particular area of study, everything written about using iPads in the classroom, for example. A literature review will focus on general trends in the research. For example, most researchers in this area have chosen to use small samples for polling. Main areas of controversy. For example, there is still much disagreement about whether the positive effects of iPad use could be accomplished with a less expensive tool. Key camps or sides of a disagreement. The two main antagonists on this point are those who see technology as an end in itself, and those who simply see it as a means to an end. Or important gaps in the research. The small sampling sizes and short time periods means that there is no long-term information, so we cannot know for certain whether positive effects last and increase. If you have trouble understanding how to put together a literature review, think of your sources as characters. They each have their own personalities, conflicts, and relationships. The literature review tells the story of these characters. The annotated bibliography. Literature reviews and annotated bibliographies often go together, and students often mistake the literature review for an annotated bibliography. Inexperienced students will often write the literature review as a series of summaries, without pulling out key relationships and disputes between the sources. That, however, is an annotated bibliography. At its simplest, an annotated bibliography is a series of bibliographic entries and brief summaries. How those summaries are set up depends on the discipline and the purpose of the bibliography. But in general, I teach my students that there are 4 main jobs for the summary to do. The annotated bibliography. Literature reviews and annotated bibliographies often go together, and students often mistake the literature review for an annotated bibliography. Inexperienced students will often write the literature review as a series of summaries, without pulling out key relationships and disputes between the sources. That, however, is an annotated bibliography. At its simplest, an annotated bibliography is a series of bibliographic entries and brief summaries. The bibliographic entry is the easy part, and it should be formatted in whatever citation style is appropriate to the paper you're writing. The contents of the summary will vary by discipline and purpose. There's not a consistent standard besides being useful. But in general, I teach my students that there are 4 main jobs for the summary to do. A summary may identify the source and the author, state the main thesis, summarize the key points, and evaluate the usefulness or the quality of the source. Whatever the approach, the point of the annotated bibliography should be usefulness to other researchers. Practicing scholars use annotated bibliographies to direct other researchers to sources that are worth their time, and helps other researchers keep from wasting their time on sources that aren't about what they're searching for. Literature review and annotated bibliography are commonly parts of your senior investigative papers, so make sure you're doing what is appropriate for your particular disciplinary area.